More than 30 years have passed since the release of the first Toy Story movie. But have you ever stopped to think how many years have really passed in the world where the movie actually takes place? Timeline. Whoever was Andy's age in the first movie, 8 years old, today has surely passed 38 years of age. You can ask your dad and your mom if you want. For example, to give you an idea, between the first movie and the second, which is the movie where Jessie appears for the first time, here in our world, 5 years passed, while in the story we had a time jump of barely 1 year with Andy, now being 9 years old instead of 8. Now between the second and the third movie, the one where we meet the terrible Lasso, the opposite happens. More time passes here in our world and less in the story, whereas here, we had to wait 11 years to see the closure of the first trilogy of movies. In the toy world, barely 8 years passed since Andy was 17 and was about to leave for college. However, between the third and fourth movie, fans like me had to wait 9 years, but in the story, barely 1 passed. And to complete the timeline cycle, now with the fifth movie, it was a 9-year wait. While Bonnie went from being 5 to 8 years old, that is, in the movies, only 3 years passed. In short, while in our world, between the first and the last movie, 31 years passed. In Woody and Buzz's world, barely 13 years passed since the two toys met and became friends in Andy's room. How about that? Did you know that one? It cannot be denied. Toy Story has movies that mark the lives of millions of adults and children. That is only the first of the 10 most incredible facts about the fifth movie of our favorite toys. Get ready, because we are going to blow your mind. New Mr. Potato Head. If there is one thing Disney was very lucky with, it was that the main voice actors of the first Toy Story movie were still alive for the release of the fifth movie, mainly when it comes to Buzz, Woody, and Jessie. However, there is an exception. The original voice actor for Mr. Potato Head, Don Rickles, ended up passing away in 2017 at 90 years of age, which was exactly in the period between the third and fourth movie. So in the fourth movie, some voice recordings of the actor were used with the family's authorization. However, now in the fifth movie, the replacement of the voice actor by actor Jeff Bergman was truly necessary. The saddest thing of all is that this was not the only case of voice actors who ended up passing away between the Toy Story movies. After all, 31 years passed. The same thing happened with Combat Carl, who was initially played by Carl Weathers, famous for playing Apollo Creed in the Rocky Balboa franchise, and who passed away in 2024. He was replaced by Ernie Hudson from the Ghostbusters franchise, child voice actors. Still talking about dubbing, there are some exceptions of characters that obligatorily need to change their voice actors throughout the movies of the Toy Story franchise. If you thought of the children, you guessed right. Considering Bonnie, for example, her first voice actress was Emily Hahn, who was about 10 years old when she gave life to Bonnie when she was barely 4 years old. Already in Toy Story 4, given that 9 years passed and Emily was 19 years old and Bonnie was barely 5, the new voice actress became Madeleine McGraw, who was 11 years old at that time. And now, in the fifth movie, it was Madeleine McGraw's turn to be a bit too old to voice an 8-year-old girl. After all, she is 17 years old. That is why the new actress chosen was Scarlett Spears, who is barely 9 years old. Still talking about child voice actors, in Andy's case, things were a little different, since he was growing up along with the movies. So, actor John Morris ended up being the only voice actor for the character, and the truth is, it makes sense. Pizza with sunglasses. One of the new characters in Toy Story 5 is Pizza with sunglasses, and he has a quite interesting curiosity. Besides being played by musical superstar Bad Bunny, he was originally designed by Pixar to be nothing more and nothing less than the official mascot of Pizza Planet. that pizzeria whose delivery truck appears in practically all the company's movies. This is because before it was designed to be a place inspired by ships and aliens where Buzz feels at home, it was going to be a pizzeria with mini golf, and Pizza with Sunglasses would be the owner of the club, so to speak, Forky's cousins. One of the high points of Toy Story 4, for sure, was the introduction of Forky as one of the main characters of the story. And if you saw Toy Story 4, you will remember that at the end of the movie, Bonnie ended up creating the character's girlfriend, Beverly, and the idea of toys made with their own hands worked so well that Pixar's screenwriters and artists initially had the idea of including in Toy Story 5 more toys created by Bonnie. In the movie's art book, we can see, for example, toys that would be made with toilet paper rolls and others with disposable plates. However, we do not know their names, but we can guess that Raleigh and Platey would be their probable names based on Forky's name. Right? The fact is that if they ever come to appear in some Toy Story movie, we can say that they would be a kind of distant cousins to Forky and Beverly. If you made it this far, do the following. Click on the subscribe button. I think we deserve it. Snow White Buzz. If there is something Disney likes to do, it is homages to its classic movies. After all, without them, the company would not be known worldwide. And in Toy Story, we managed to notice a moment that references the first animated movie from the House of Mickey. If you saw the movie, you will remember that at a given moment, the army of Buzz dolls is in the middle of the forest and the animals simply begin to approach them and harmony and peace reign. That is basically the same scene from the movie Snow White, where the princess ends up fleeing into the forest and the animals welcome her in a very kind way, just like what happens with the Buzz army. So, we can say that they would be the Snow White Buzzes. I think not. Real Lil Pad. What if we told you that the Lil Pad? Would you believe it? That is the purest truth for the simple reason that the villain, who later stops being a villain in the 5th movie, is completely inspired by the Leapfrog, a tablet developed by Leapfrog, a company completely focused on developing electronic devices for children between 3 and 9 years of age. The similarities are simply undeniable, do you not agree? Even the greatest proof of that connection between the real company and the frog-shaped tablet created by Disney Pixar is the fact that the Leapfrog brand itself was the company licensed to manufacture the real toy of the movie. They released in stores the Toy Story 5 Explore and Learn Lil Pad, a children's toy tablet that imitates the character's design. How about that? Did you already know this one? If you ever had a Leapfrog, comment down below so we can find out. Zero artificial intelligence. Since the announcement of Toy Story 5, it became clear that the main theme of the story would revolve around the rivalry between conventional toys like Buzz, Woody, Jessie, and company, and technological toys like the Lil Pad, Smarty Pants, Atlas, and Snappy. And to make that rivalry even bigger, recently Pixar announced that it used absolutely zero artificial intelligence in the production of the movie for the reason that, according to the film's directors, current AI technology still does not produce the results nor reproduce the minimum quality standard demanded by the company for its movies. And just between us, we can say that it makes sense and the risk would be too great to take. At the end of the day, Toy Story is more or less like Disney Pixar's goose that lays the golden eggs. Every movie is a guarantee of a lot of money coming into the company. Franchise record. Speaking of the goose that lays the golden eggs, the first days of the movie's screening already proved that that could not be less true. That is because Toy Story 5 grossed just in its opening weekend $316 million speaking globally, accumulating close to $200 million in the first 5 days just in the United States. To give you an idea, Zootopia 2, which was released at the end of 2024, needed 11 days to reach the same mark. If we compare it with the previous movie Toy Story 4, the difference becomes even greater since the fifth movie grossed close to 80 million more than its predecessor, positioning itself as the biggest box office success of the Toy Story franchise. Besides that, the animation went down in history as the second biggest domestic animation opening of all time, coming in only behind Incredibles 2 from 2018, which grossed close to 20 million more than the new movie of Buzz, Woody, and Jessie. Lightyear is the culprit. A lot of people do not have the slightest idea, but if it were not for one of Disney's worst movies, Toy Story 5 would have never been produced. We are talking about the horrible Lightyear that Disney released in 2022 and which was a tremendous box office and critical failure, mainly from the fans. To give you an idea, the movie left losses of more or less millions of dollars. But the fact is that after Toy Story 4, both Pixar employees and the voice actors for Buzz and Woody had categorically stated that that would be the last Toy Story. However, the reputation of Buzz and Pixar itself was left so tarnished after the release of Lightyear that Disney practically demanded a new Toy Story, both to cover the financial losses of the previous Buzz movie and to save the last impression of the Buzz dolls in the fans' minds. But if we stop to think about it, that same movie was released in the world of the Toy Story movies, and it was thanks to its success and its manufactured toys that Andy asked his mom for a Buzz doll, thus creating the great friendship between the Space Ranger and the cowboy. If you want more videos like this, comment down below. Plus, we are leaving 2 very cool videos for you to stick with us here on the channel. Click and have fun.